Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well tonight. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Awesome, there we go. So we've got the baby is here, Oliver. He
Aw.
was born Tuesday morning at 3:12. So he's just here relaxing, hanging out, having fun, and nodding off.
Aw.
Does
So
he,
yeah, little
the
baby.
nice part is he doesn't need to be
What's
recapped.
the matter, buddy?
Yes, he doesn't need
Nope,
to be
nope. He doesn't need to be recapped. Believe me, he's good to go right out of the box. Oh, he's yawning. Oh,
Aw.
tough long day, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
Tough long day. Yep, he's going back to sleep.
He's gone back to sleep.
But yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, now he's waking up. He's like, what just happened? What just happened?
I just
Where am I
moved.
going?
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, he's stretching. Hi,
Aw.
buddy. So, thanks for everybody for joining us tonight for a very special episode of Old World Tech Fridays. Everybody gets to see the new baby.
Yes.
What's weird is I'm still not adjusted to the new baby. Like I had to go to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription for him, and I said, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up prescription for Liam." Oh, nope, the new one, Oliver. I need. So it's gonna take a little while to get
Yeah.
used to the second baby.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we know who Dad's favorite is. Obviously, Liam.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
Well, we've had him for 4.5 years, so he's kind of grown on us now. So yeah, but no, it's really great everybody to join us tonight. I see a lot of people here today. Trina, who do we get today?
Who do we got? Let me scroll up to the top. We have Eric's Edge, who is here at 112 minutes early.
Oh wow,
Very specific.
Yeah, very specific. Francois, who was going to go to sleep,
Awesome.
but Francois never sleeps, so it's a French thing apparently. Retrotech Chris.
Awesome.
We have this Frodo Jedi guy.
Who's that?
Whatever that is.
I don't know who this is.
Alright,
We
cool.
have Ron of Ron's Computer Videos. Everything's Broken Garage.
Who's that?
Josh Beagle.
Who's that guy?
I don't know. And that looks like it. Hold on.
Starbuck
Starbuck
Tech.
Tech. Jason's
Hold on.
here.
Sorry. Oh, hey, Starbuck Tech. Welcome. Sorry,
Welcome.
it stopped scrolling for a second. So
Yeah, it pauses sometimes. I
Sure.
know.
yeah.
Likely
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate you guys joining us. We took a little break last week to kind of regroup and get some things going, and we're glad to be back with you guys this week. So we got a few different things for you today. What I was going to do was actually kind of recap a little bit of this week in history. So July 10th, which was what, Sunday or Monday? 10th.
It would have been
Monday.
Monday.
So
Yep.
Monday
Monday.
was the first international communications satellite back on July 10th in 1962. And
All right,
it
Francois.
was,
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt for a
sorry.
sec. Francois said he's going to watch the rerun. So you go to sleep.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, have a great
Well,
night.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out for a few minutes and saying hi to everybody. We appreciate it. So it was a first experimental international communications satellite, Telstar 1, launched into orbit, built by Bell Labs, launched by NASA. So that was a collaboration between the U.S., Britain, and France. So that was Monday. Tuesday, we had Skylab re-entry, July 11th, 1979. This was the first American space station, Skylab. Entered Earth's atmosphere and burned up after plans for keeping it into orbit didn't materialize. So fragments fell around Perth, Australia, and actually killed one cow. So no human fatalities, but actually some of the debris hit a cow. So July 12th, which would have been Wednesday, not so Final Fantasy. So Nintendo released the original Final Fantasy video game for Nintendo Entertainment System in North America.
What year?
This
What
was
year was that?
1990, July 12th, 1990. And it's ironic because it was called Final Fantasy, and obviously it wasn't the first it wasn't the last installment, so it wasn't the final Final Fantasy. But it was one of the most successful role-playing games for the NES, and it helped popularize the genre, and actually has been known to spawn a lot of the most recent and well-known RPGs. So the next one was July 13th. So Thursday, this was 2001. Code Red worms its way into the internet.
Oh yeah, I remember the Code Red. Yeah.
Yeah, so Code Red was released onto the internet July 13, 2001, targeting Microsoft's IIS web
Yeah.
server. Code Red had significant effects on the internet due to its speed and efficiency of its spread.
Yeah.
This was due to the fact that IIS was so often enabled by default on so many installations of Windows NT, Windows 2000.
But I might want a server to do some websites someday.
I know, but
I
it is
might as well
hilarious that it
I might as
was
well install it now. I mean, and maybe not
auto-enabled.
update it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
minor details. And then obviously today, July 14th, 1965, first Mars flyby. This was NASA's Mariner 4. It became the first spacecraft to perform a successful flyby of Mars, and the first to send back actual photographs of another planet from deep space. The photographers are the first to detail Mars' surface.
It was the
and extensive craters.
first space drift.
Absolutely.
It kicked
just
the ass
kinda
out
coasted.
a little bit around the last turn around Mars. Yeah, it was the first.
Mars drift.
You've heard of Tokyo drift.
Well,
this is Martian drift.
That was definitely the inspiration behind Tokyo drift. The Japanese
100%.
thought they could do it too. Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
So I just want to.
I
just want to say. Oh, let me know when you're done.
No. I was just going to say I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that happened in tech history over the last week. So I think it's interesting. A lot of these things, people forget about.
So I just wanted to say hi to Eric Rangel, and also hi to Retro Techie, and happy birthday to Retro Techie. It's his birthday.
Oh,
today.
Happy birthday! That's great.
Retro Techie wasn't born.
Well, according
to congealed under a rock somewhere.
So yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. He's a nice guy.
Cool.
I like him.
Yes. Ishmael is a good fellow.
So,
sorry.
Trina, do you have anything for this week? What's your
I
topic
do.
for this week?
And I just wanted to confirm because we kind of got looking at the baby before, so we didn't really kind of.
Oh yes.
Are we still doing the 3 failed things as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm gonna first talk about my thing, and then I'll let Ryan talk about whatever, and then we'll go around and talk about
your failed thing.
This is a family. This is a family fair. We don't want to talk about things.
No, I'm going to talk about
earlier. Frank was talking about a 10-inch thing that he had to cut because it was too big.
Yeah, it was a mess today.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I'll do my first topic, and then I'll do the failed topic, which fits in with that. But I'll do it when we're doing the failed topic. So Apple Vision Pro is likely to launch in the UK and Canada by the end of 2024. Awesome. Asia and the rest of Europe soon after. So we're looking at about 2 years.
So
they are really doing a slow rollout.
They are. Oh,
it's coming out in the UK and Canada. But when is it coming out of the United States?
Oh, well, I was just about to cover that. You got ahead of me. Okay.
Sorry.
So the Vision Pro is set to launch in the US in selected stores starting early next year. And then Apple is discussing the UK and Canada as the 2 of the first. I love how we're international markets, even though we're just above y'all. To get
y'all.
I gotta put it in words that Americans understand. By the end of 2024, mind you, a final decision hasn't been made.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
It's almost as if they don't have a proper vision.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it says Apple will also sell the Vision Pro through its U.S. online stores in early 2024 before expanding online elsewhere, according to the report.
So
let me see.
I feel like this is going to end up being one of those, like when the iPhone first came out and they were only selling in the U.S. There were that many people buying them and putting them on eBay.
So and scalping them. Yeah.
So Canadians could buy them. I mean, I bought my first iPhone from Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, same thing with European countries. Tons of people overseas pay crap tons of money to have it.
So
I didn't actually spend that much.
So it says Apple is said to already preparing the retail launch of its Vision Pro headset in the U.S. with plans in place for special areas and stores where customers can become accustomed to the new $350 device. Yeah, let's go with that. $3,500 device. There we go. So yeah, so they're gonna have areas where you can play with it, I guess. Which
So Apple's going to be like the Borg, and you're just going to be assimilated. So they're going to start here in the
Pod.
U.S. and
right?
Canada, and then they're
Well,
going to slowly take over the rest.
I think they've teamed up with Bill Gates. They're just gonna put a chip in your head when you're using them.
Yep,
Well,
that makes sense.
So
we
yeah,
all
so that's the news. The last kind of and like release date of for those
Mhm.
things. I mean the rest of it they're just talking about details that I've seen, but this is I'm like, let's talk about when they're actually coming out to the market. So
Mhm.
it should be if they have them in stores in Canada, I'm heading down to the Eaton Center. And for those who have watched Star Trek Strange New Worlds, you know where the Eaton Center is now.
Mhm.
Um,
I
no.
know, but yet I could care less.
Do you think they'll actually shrink the device by like 50% by launch date? Because
No.
they're still awful
No,
bulky.
yeah.
And
I really
I
hope
guarantee
they
you
work that out.
there will be a diagram about how to
Mhm.
properly put them on,
Oh, I'm
Mm,
because for
sure.
some reason left-handed people are gonna like block some
sensor.
antenna in it, and it's
Mhm.
gonna like fail like the first iPhone.
They're gonna make you go to the Apple store, and then they'll have an actual fitting, like shoes
Yeah,
or like a
shoes.
special device where
There you
you
go.
go in and you sit in a
Yeah.
controlled
A
sound
bespoke.
booth.
They put
Yep.
like they measure you and give you a
Yep.
bespoke
I'm just
headset.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering with this whole you're going to be able to play with it in store. How many headsets are
Sure.
going to go through?
Oh
Because
yeah.
I know
I would
people. They're
imagine they're gonna have a genius bar person there, being like the guy at the Tilt-A-Whirl, letting kids in and making
Yeah.
sure they don't vomit.
See, I would be really the only thing I would be anxious about with headsets are is, like you can't control. I mean, they could wipe them off and stuff, but like people with like head lice or things like that, I'd be worried about like stuff like that
See,
going into a store and just
the
trying
key
them off.
is to be bald.
That's true. Best thing to do is shave your head before you go into the Apple store.
I mean, we're heading towards the dystopian future. We all might as well just get the one-piece silver jumpsuit and shave our heads.
Yeah, there you go. Retro Techie's right. They should limo deliver it like they did the TAM.
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, paying
Oh,
Joe. Joe's
$7,500. Hey, Joe.
and hi
Joe's.
Joe, welcome.
And Eric, he wants to know if it fits Vulcans. That is a very valid point.
They have a little spot for that are like empty spaces for the tips of the ears. So yes, it does.
But it wasn't the
Awesome.
Vulcans that were in Toronto; it was the Romulans.
Same thing.
That is true.
Oh.
No different.
It's the same thing. They came from the same origin planet. They are the same species. They just won't
Yeah,
admit it.
but the Vulcan. Okay, we won't go on this because yeah.
Oh, I'm getting on
Might
my
as well say.
soapbox. Hold on, let me go get my soapbox.
So what else you got, Trina?
Well, I'm gonna wait. My next one is the tie-in with the
Oh,
is
okay.
for the. So I'll wait till
Yep.
we talk about that.
Ryan, what you got?
So I've got something that's a bit. I'm just gonna make my screen so I can see two things here at once. Yeah. So one of the things that popped up today or this week for me, which I thought was kind of interesting, is Google has failed to stand up to their motto of "Do no evil,"
Oh,
allegedly. And
Show of hands, who's surprised?
I'm gonna preface this by always saying allegedly, because it hasn't been proven in court, and I don't want to be liable or killed by some form of AI sentient Google Nest unit.
allegedly,
Allegedly,
allegedly, yes.
yeah, allegedly killed.
We got to
Sorry.
keep throwing the word
Yeah,
allegedly
yeah.
around.
So there's a company called Adalytics. They are, funnily enough, they are an ad analytics company that looks
Mhm.
at different analytics outside of, what Google presents you or what Facebook presents you. They look at the raw data by going and doing their own research. And they show that the True View ads, which are ads that are meant to play before and after videos or play
Mhm.
on websites as videos, are supposed to be able to be skipped within the first 5 seconds. And if they're skipped within the first 5 seconds, the person posting the ad doesn't get charged for that impression. Right? If the ad is viewed for more than 30 seconds or the sound is turned on the ad subscriber or ad person gets charged for that impression, we'll say.
Sure.
So basically, the guys from Analytics realized that 42 to 75% of allocation ads that didn't meet the Google rules to run in small video players on certain websites and are muted and are hidden in some cases.
Mhm.
And they are on websites that are not necessarily follow Google's guidelines. So not safe for work. Maybe they're not necessarily the best kind of websites, and they may have malicious intent, malicious code.
Sure.
So basically, places you wouldn't want to see your ad run if you were a reputable company.
Mhm.
So basically, what was the other point? The ads were also found to be running on apps that aren't actually in the Android store. So they're like
Oh,
fly
Like
by night.
iPhone only apps, or
No. Like Android apps that aren't verified
oh,
by the
like side-loaded apps.
yeah, which aren't
Gotcha.
technically are not supposed to be able to load Google Ads because they
Mhm.
don't. One of the criteria of Google Ads in an app is that it's verified by Google.
Sure, that
Um,
makes sense.
and they were found in countries that Google is not supposed to run ads in. So
oh,
specifically in Iran and Iraq and places like that, where Google is forbidden by their own rules and policies, as well as international trade agreements and treaties, to not run ads. So kind of sketchy. So I actually have the website of the analytics people, which I'll share in the chat. I think I can share it in the chat. You guys can go and I'll have a look at it together. Um, there we go.
put it for us. Put it in the private chat.
Yeah, I'll put it in the
'cause-
private chat too.
yeah.
So,
Joe, you missed that it's Retro Techie's birthday. That
And
was one
Joe,
more
you
thing
need to go back to the beginning of the stream just while we wait for Ryan here to see Oliver.
Yep, Oliver
Frank's
made his
new
stream
little.
debut.
Yeah.
so in the website that I just shared, you can see they have examples of where the videos were showing up on certain websites. You can
Oh
see
yeah,
that the mute button and the skip button were hidden in some cases. In some cases, the same ad was playing twice on the same website.
a lot of big
Um,
companies on this list too.
yeah, and then that's the big thing. Is sort of they went through the top 15, I think, or top 20, no, top 50, 60, 100. They went to the no more than 100.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I just posted it in the main chat, so folks that are
131.
viewing can also watch it.
131. So you have people from you have companies from JP Morgan, American Express, Mercedes-Benz, Best Buy, Disney Plus.
Cisco.
One I found hilarious, the Alberta New Democratic Party. um, Lord knows they could use all the help they can get. Office
Yeah.
Depot, Pizza Hut, Microsoft, Instacart, IBM, and Red Hat, Ford, Honda, HBO, North Face, Volkswagen. So all these ads,
Wow.
these large companies are paying substantial money for ad impressions, and it looks as though, allegedly, some of the stuff that they've been paying for is not necessarily anything that would relate into conversions or relate into clicks to websites and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So Google, of course, had a response. Google's director of global video solutions, Marvin Renault, I think his name is, says that the analytics report or analytics report is extremely inaccurate, that advertisers are only charged when ads are viewed, and most ads that they have with their TrueView ad, as they call it, the product they call TrueView ads, only occur on YouTube and not on third-party websites. Last year alone, they apparently shut down 144,000 websites that were showing ads illegally according to their standards. And that kind of begs the question. It's like that number seems high, but then you think about the entire internet and you go, well, 144,000 websites on the, across divided by the
Millions,
entire the
right?
internet is not a lot of websites.
No.
So
Fractions of a percent, I'm sure.
yeah, this analytics company has a lot to gain by Google having an interface. I don't think so. They themselves are Google marketers, so they do use Google as part of their marketing platform.
Hmm.
So yeah, 100%. That I agree, Joe. That was one of the things that was brought up even by Google. But the question is, how is it allowed to happen? Like that. That's the issue. Is how are they able to sign up, and why isn't it being verified or checked? All of us of this, but yet YouTube can't get comments right. Oh, 100%. 100%. Right? It's like, and then on top of that, what was the other funny thing they said? Because I have his, I also have his response. The the director of, how did I close that? I think I did. Hold on.
Video stuff.
Yeah, director of video, Marvin Renault is his name. Here it is. So I'm going to post his response, and you can go through and read it if you want. But he did say that where's it to? Yeah, okay. So he said, we actively enforce our policies. Our policies prohibit engaging in disruptive, invasive, or deceptive ad serving practices, along with other specific practices which some might consider indicate that they are being made that are made for advertising. These include serving ads on hidden browser pages with more ads than content or ads that lead to accidental clicks. To give you a sense of how serious we take this, in 2022, we stopped serving ads on more than 130,000 websites for violating our policies. And again, I would say that seems like a large number, but it's not when you look at the grander scheme of the internet. I guarantee you there's 2 or 3 million, fake news sites all doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So like, yes, it violates their policies, but if they're using these clicks and then charge and then not going back and uncharging their clients for it, right? Or using this as ways to justify ad costs. If they're saying, well, we had, Coca-Cola, you had X number of ads in a particular demographic. Well, can we even trust that number? I don't think we can. Right. And like Eric says, they're a search engine. How do they not know?
Yeah.
That's the point. Is I don't know if it's not knowing or they just don't care because they figure it all works out in the wash, which to some extent it might. But this brings up a much larger conversation, which is what's the viability of YouTube? If this turns into being true and they can prove that it is fraudulent and that, there's a substantial number of these ad clicks or these ad plays are fraudulent, is that grounds for someone like Coca-Cola or Volkswagen to sue Google? I'd say probably. And then what does that do to the trust, we'll say, when it comes to Google? I mean, everybody, for the most part, trusts Google to be somewhat cognitive of where they're putting your ads when you give them your money to run ads. I've run ads several times, and I didn't think twice about giving Google several hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to run ads because I knew that they probably have an algorithm that should work properly. But maybe I was wrong. And then that goes back then to question, well, if this is what pays for YouTube to exist, how viable is it? Right. At what point does the whole system, house of cards, fall? Like if Google ads fails, then Google's other things like free email and YouTube cease to exist. Right? Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something to think about, kind of a downer type thing, but Linus did a little blurb on it on WAN show last week, and I thought it was really interesting, and then I did some digging into it and said, wow, this is actually,
that is interesting.
It's interesting.
I'm sure it happens on other places like Facebook ads or whatever.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of like what the WAN show had talked about, what Linus had talked about, was the fact that there's really a duopoly right now. There's Facebook or Google, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Who pays Bing for ads? Stupid people.
Yeah, I doubt anybody really anymore.
Like honestly, I don't think anybody pays for ads for them. If they do, it's probably a very small amount compared to what they're also paying for Google ads or Facebook ads.
Sure.
Right. And with Facebook now, you get the trifecta. You get, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. So that's, a much more appealing place to put your money. Because as I found out, you have the geriatrics using Facebook, the millennials using Instagram, and apparently Threads is going to be the new hip place for the young people.
But until they find out, the only way to properly delete your account with all your data is
to mute yourself because you can't hear you. Yes, correct.
What, you can't hear me?
There you go. You didn't. Oh. Yeah, you cut out for some reason.
Oh, weird. I was saying Threads is going to be popular, and until people start realizing the only way to delete your account on Threads is
you muted yourself again.
I didn't.
Frank,
I did it that time. I did it that time. I don't know what happened the first time. It actually just dropped packets or something the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so
The government doesn't want you to know.
You've been zucked.
the only
You've
way you
been
can
zucked.
delete your Threads account is to delete your Instagram. So just warning people
Right,
who are
right
thinking of going
now
to
it is,
Threads.
but they said
Yeah.
that they're going to fix that. It's not that's
Hmm.
no, it is because right now I can delete my Instagram. I don't have to delete my Facebook.
Yeah.
It's because Threads was brought up with. I didn't realize it. It started in January.
Hmm.
They developed an entire product in what? 4 months, 5 months?
Well, like any other big company, I'm sure they just bought out something else that was
No, they
already
didn't.
Yeah.
developing it.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. They didn't. Allegedly, it's been
Interesting.
a burn the candle at both ends,
Oh,
nighttime project.
okay.
Shocking.
And the neat thing is they kept it really quiet.
Yeah,
I
which
like if
is
you
hard to do anymore.
yeah, if you Google Threads, it had a different code name, but it only shows up like 4 or 5 times on the internet prior to the announcement of it.
Yeah.
So I was impressed they kept it so quiet. But
Uh,
yeah, the plan is to make them 3 separate entities. They just got to actually get the momentum. But I think they're up to 100 million or 150 million subscribers now.
it is one of the fastest growing
Yeah.
platforms, period.
Yeah, so I think that was kind of why they kind of, like Joe said, they cloned Instagram. I think that's all they did. They took the Instagram
Mm.
code and tweaked it to become Threads.
Threw
But
a new
now,
UI on it.
they got to go
Yeah.
back and actually like separate the two, and
Yeah.
that's right. But I don't think they realized how quickly it'd catch on. Like
Yeah.
I feel like they thought, oh, we got a year or two before we have to worry about this.
Yeah, exactly. That
Not
makes
But
sense.
4 weeks.
it's a lot like Blue Sky, who, especially after Twitter,
Yeah,
I think what really for Threads and Blue Sky and Mastodon to a certain degree, what really helped them was the other week when all of a sudden everybody started getting kicked off of Twitter because they
right,
didn't have, you can't make a post, you can't view posts. It's like, well, what the hell did happen to my account?
right.
And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people were jumping ship at that point.
Yeah.
So
The problem with Blue Sky, which is going to bite them in the ass, is they had the momentum, but they, instead of just finding I guess a venture capitalist or somebody to give them a shit ton of money, they were still only slowly offering accounts.
mhm.
And I think if they had gone the route that Instagram did with Threads, and they were just like, here it is, everybody sign up,
Yeah, yeah.
because they already had like a good since January basically they had a Blue
Hmm.
Sky had a good head start. But I think
Mhm.
because they were so slow, and again, it's because they understand their business model. They don't have a lot of money. They're trying to be strategic about rolling it out. But I think they ran out of runway, or they're going to run out of runway.
Well, they were not doing too bad again until that Twitter shit
Right.
storm hit the fan.
Well, funny thing is,
Um,
apparently Twitter now owes Google a lot of hosting money,
mhm.
and Elon doesn't want to pay it. So that's why Twitter's like ability to serve things has become somewhat nerfed, is because they actually don't have the same level of infrastructure anymore because they're not buying into the Google cloud services.
That makes sense.
I just want to also give a shout out to somebody I haven't seen in the chat before, which is Tech Cowboy.
Yeah.
So welcome and thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you for joining Tech Cowboy. Yeehaw.
By the way, Tech Cowboy, you may enjoy. There's another show that I'm a host on called the Retro Repair Roundup, which has kind of like a Western theme. Just saying, we do 2 podcasts a month, the first and third Sunday of every month.
And
So
sometimes the
at
ladies
8 p.m.
take over.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes we kick the guys out.
Yeah, I can't wait for Man Night.
Just watch an episode of
I know.
Mac.
I know. I was gonna say, or just watch a normal episode because
Yeah, right.
you're outnumbered.
Although it wasn't too bad last week. We
No,
had
because you had
Kate
Kate.
on.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah, but,
Right.
yeah, Retro Repair Roundup.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I want to talk about. I'm always weary, I'm a huge Google fan. Like, don't get me wrong, Google is one
Mhm.
of those companies that I tied my rope to early in life, and I've been sort of with them since '98. I remember when I jumped ships from Alta Vista. I was like, this is garbage. I'm getting a better search engine, and I went from Alta Vista to, actually, I think I dabbled with Ask Jeeves for a little bit, but I found him to be somewhat pretentious. So then I
Hmm.
jumped ship and went to Google. But
And it
yeah,
also helped too, like back when Google was being launched,
yeah,
they had a lot of free advertising going on TV. Like an episode of Friends had talked about I'm using Google.
right,
And a lot of shows just kind of worked it into their script.
Yep.
So then it became vernacular.
Well, and
For
much
people
like
to
Kleenex
Google.
is, the Kleenex is
Yeah.
a term, right? Or whatever. There's lots of
But
things.
then the word Google got into people's
Right.
mind, and then when they were online, they're like, oh, "What's this Google
Yeah.
thing?" Yeah.
And like Joe said, their Google Cloud compute is really good. It is
Yeah.
really good. Their back end. I mean, they're a browser, or not a web browser, a web search engine that, kind of like how McDonald's is a real estate company that sells hamburgers. Google is a data center that
Hmm.
sells a lot of different things to keep the lights on. But
Mhm.
their big compute, that is their you know and innovation. But they're a 20-plus-year-old company now. That young, vigorous, upstart energy that they have, I think, is slowly,
I think they're closing in on 30, are they not?
to the 1998. I
Yeah.
think they
So
want.
that would be. Hold on. When did
They'll be
Google
30 in
start?
2028.
1998. Oh, yeah. They're like 20. What? 25 then?
5, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just coming out of university, really. Um, but yeah, so I think their whole do no evil, which was their mantra for better part of 20 years. It's not anymore. They actually removed it from their mission statement. But I think that they're still a good company. But I have to question. You literally, like, YouTube has never purged any of its data ever. So the first video that went up on YouTube is still on YouTube.
Right.
Unless somebody went in and deleted an account or deleted their YouTube channel, all your data that was ever put on YouTube is still there, unless you've asked for it to be removed or you deleted it yourself as a content provider or content creator. So I don't know how that graph looks, but I can only imagine the storage is not linear; it's exponential. Like, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
right, because you have to realize that when they first started, it was SD video, then it became 720, then they had 1080. Now they have 4K. They're talking about 8K
Oh,
videos.
really? Hmm.
So, at some point, that's got to be paid for,
Yeah.
right? And I don't see how this ad, especially if their ad system becomes questioned and not trusted anymore, how they're going to afford to keep YouTube um, around,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And
I don't see that happening overnight, and
no,
I don't think Google's going to be is it's like Apple with the vision, which if they lose a bit of money, oh well, you
yeah,
know.
but if Google loses a bit of money, they're not going to keep something that costs them a pile of money for the sake of
No,
keeping it,
but I
right?
don't see it go. It's like everybody, as soon as Elon Musk took over Twitter, everybody said 2 months it shut down. Well, it's still going.
For now.
It's a poop show, but it's still going.
Yeah, but
You know.
it's not going to survive. But here's the
Mm,
thing: Twitter wasn't going to survive to begin with. Twitter's
yeah.
business model makes no sense at all, because there is no business model. They've been literally hemorrhaging money for 15 years.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with another topic because
Yes,
we could have Ryan stand on his soapbox until I fall
yes,
asleep, which is going to be soon. So should we do the worst or the most
Failed tech.
failed tech? Yeah.
So what I had for today's failed tech, and I just want to get everybody's take on this, was Napster. They really
Uh,
had the potential to really be what Apple, like iTunes was,
mhm.
if they would have handled things, correctly, because Napster was one of those things that took off so fast. Because I remember downloading music on Napster.
yeah. But I think the problem with Napster is that it was 100% illegal.
Oh yeah, it was 100% blatant copyright
It's like,
infringement,
the
but
mob
they could
worked.
have turned it around
The
and
mob is
made it
great.
into
The
legitimate.
mob takes care of lots of things.
Yeah,
But it's
but
still
I
illegal.
just it was a great platform, the way that it was set up. I really think that they could have modified things and made it into
Sure.
something.
Mm.
I think the
You
problem
know,
is they were 20 years too early, and the music
yeah,
industry moves at a glacial pace,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like
Well, it's like LimeWire.
the only reason
That's
that
another one.
that that iTunes is able to do music is because Apple literally beat them into submission,
Oh yeah, pounded on doors. Say,
right?
yeah,
Well, it also helps they have more money than most of the music industry, so
yeah.
they're able
That's
to be the big
100%
dog in
true.
the meetings. But I remember when the iPod first came out, the first generation iPod, Apple was screwed by the music industry.
Hmm.
So was Rio. So was Creative, because they viewed that this device, um, what was the gateway for illegalities.
Yeah.
It allowed people to do things illegally, and so they wanted to go after them for that, and they tried to shut MP. Like I remember there was a lawsuit against MP3 players, right?
Yep.
But thankfully, Apple's pockets were as deep as they were, and they were able to fight it. And at the end of the day, nobody lost, right?
Yeah.
I remember then when they attempted, then the music industry attempted to put a tariff on CDs. Right? They wanted that every blank CD to be sold, that a 10, 15 cents of every blank CD would go back to the music industry to be distributed to artists. Because in their mind, the only reason somebody would buy a blank CD is because they were pirating music, which is a crock of shit.
Yeah.
So
Right?
I just wanted to touch on something that Starbuck Tech had said. He said, but Napster's still around, and yes and no. If you go to the Wikipedia page, and for some reason my mouse is deciding not to work, um, it's gone through. So Napster's brand and logos were acquired at a bankruptcy
Mhm.
auction back
Oh, four,
by
wasn't it?
Roxio, which used
Yep.
them to rebrand the Press Play music service as
Yep.
Napster 2.0, and that was in 2008.
Doesn't it?
Napster was purchased by U.S. electronic reseller Best Buy for 121 million on the December 1st, 2001. On
Given the state of
July,
Best Buy, I think they should have invested their money a little more wisely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see here. On July 14th, Rhapsody phased out the Rhapsody brand in favor of Napster and has since branded its services internationally as Napster.
Yeah.
So it's not really Napster, but it kind of
Mhm.
is.
It's like RCA and Philips. They don't really make anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're just selling their brand to a product. Yeah. Yeah, I think they were just too early. Like, actually, it's funny. If you get a chance, was it Tech Tangents video this week? No, not Tech Tangents. CD, Catherine Raid dude. He talks about this product for MP3s, but it came out in 01, 02 for streaming MP3, your MP3 library from your home computer to your home stereo
Let's
using
see.
this box. Anyway, good video, but he also touches on a couple of products that he's done in the past, which were really neat. These standalone CD rippers that came out in the early 2000s that were complete failures. But had they come out in, say, 2004, they probably wouldn't have been.
Right.
It was just timing, right?
Mhm.
It's all about timing. Like the iPod, people think the iPod was the be all end all, but the iPod came out 4 years into the MP3 craze,
Hmm.
right? Like there were other MP3 players.
Yeah. People
Or the
wanted a better MP3 player. Yeah.
Well, the thing that the iPod did, which we'll give him credit for, and Catherine Ray dude talks about it, and it's 100% true, is the interface, how you actually manage and move through your music.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what made the iPod valuable, because everybody up to that point had shitty UIs.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what really made their bread and butter. And yeah, the iPod was a great product. Actually, I'm just looking. I think there's one behind me over my shoulder. There's a Gen 2 iPod Classic, or what would become the iPod Classic. Um, I remember when they were FireWire. Like I remember when they first came out, you couldn't use them on a Windows machine. You had to have an Apple, right? Which is hilarious.
Mhm.
And they changed that within 6 months. There was an iTunes for Windows, and there was a USB version, right? Um, you know,
Yeah. When it first came out, I was too poor for Apple.
yeah, I didn't have one when I first came out. Jesus, no.
Yeah.
So
We had a Windows machine. We didn't have an Apple machine
Yeah.
at the time.
We,
so
I
so
honestly, this is funny. Just one more point. I won my first iPod at a Christian rock concert,
Oh my gosh. How
and
ironic.
I still have it somewhere. It's hilarious.
that's funny.
It says John 3:16 on the back, and I laugh. It was an iPod Nano. It was like
Oh,
2005, I
that's
think it was.
hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
What were you
Trina. Go
gonna say,
ahead.
Trina?
No, so Frank, you remember before the stream started and how Ryan had said that at the Battle of the Somme
Oh yeah.
they lost a bunch of Newfoundlanders? I know why, because they got sitting around talking and never know when to be quiet. because Ryan's been rambling for like 10 minutes now.
Yeah.
I'm like, no wonder they lost.
No. See, what we
Ryan,
do
we
is
love you.
we trick the Germans into Germans, as we call them. We trick them into a false sense of superiority.
Yeah.
And once they're in that false sense of superiority,
they kicked your butt.
We lob a few grenades.
Yeah, I agree with Joe's comment. Apple has a knack of reading the room.
100%.
Yeah. Totally.
And that's it. Perfect. It is. In almost every case scenario with an actual Apple product that went crazy, it was the right place at the right time.
Yep.
You know,
and
except for these damn Google Vision or the Apple Vision thing. I'm still not on board with it yet.
And maybe we're not seeing it. I mean, I'm sure there were people sitting in the boardroom at Sony that went, iPod, well, that's a fucking piece of shit. That'll never take off. Right?
Exactly.
And I remember Steve Ballmer.
Could be wrong.
I remember Steve Ballmer on the day that the iPhone came out, it was BNN, Business News Network, interviewed him and asked him, was Microsoft scared? And he's like, no, they'll get like 4% of the market share, and Microsoft will dominate like it always does. Like, he was adamant that the iPhone was going to be a failure.
It's no different than Michael Dell's take on Apple. You know, where he's like, Apple's best thing to do would be give all the money back to the shareholders and close up shop.
Right. Oh, that was in the 90s when he said that.
Yeah. It was when they were really struggling.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They turned it around, and most valuable company in the world.
In fairness to Michael Dell, he also offered to buy Apple.
Yeah.
So it can't be that bad.
Well, that's what you do when you go to buy a car. You it's not that great. There's a ding here.
I'll take it off your hands.
Yeah, exactly. So kicking the tires. Yeah. So, but yeah. What did you have, Trina?
So to tie in with the Apple Vision that I was talking about earlier, the Google glasses.
Oh, yes.
So the article says here, few gadgets have debuted with as much buzz, sounding familiar yet, as Google Glass, the smart spectacles the search giant unveiled in 2012. From its flashy introduction demos that featured skydivers streaming their jumps through the device to a spread in vogue, Glass had possibly one of the most hyped gadget launches of all time. But for naught, Google shelved the product in 2015, though it's still being used in some professional applications. Here's the best part. What happened? The headset high price tag of $1,500.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right? And concerns about privacy kept it from going mainstream. Glass was made it easy to record video discreetly, obviously, which the Vision doesn't, which prompted some bars, restaurants, and movie theaters to ban the gadget.
Yeah.
And gave the rise to the term glass hole.
Well, you figure too, Apple's had a knack of slapping an extra $2,000 on top of any product that they throw their name on, more than it probably should be compared to other products, that are similar specs, So that's not at all surprising. But to be honest, my take on Google Glass, I liked the way it looked and the way that it should have worked. Yeah. And I really had hoped when Apple came out with their own thing, it was going to be a slimmed down, more like your glasses or Ryan's glasses, more like an actual presentation of glasses instead of this ginormous Oculus style headset.
Yeah.
But I think
I was a little disappointed how bulky it looks,
That's where the privacy thing comes into play. Like, we could make glasses that literally look like normal glasses.
Sure.
But 100% the perverts are going to be into
100%.
And every pirater is going to be in watching movies and stuff. And so
So this could be purely Apple through this thing and be like, no, they really need to be conspicuous. People 100%. Need to know that that's what you got. And know, like, what the hell's that guy got on his
head? Unless if you're Action Retro, who can hook up a pair of sunglasses to his clamshell, which was amazing.
That was pretty funny.
That was a great episode.
That was pretty funny.
I have never laughed so hard in all my life at a video as I did with that, especially like when he's walking around the parking lot at VCF. The VCF East swap meet.
Yeah, that was humorous.
Although I was very upset when he lost the J key.
I know. And he's like, "What?
So sad. Where'd it go?"
Yeah, the guy was like, "Oh, you're missing a key." No, what?
Actually, that was Steve. Steve was the one that pointed that out to him.
Because I couldn't remember on the video who it was.
I think it was on Steve. By the way, if you don't know who Steve is, check out Mac84 here on YouTube.
That's right.
He has a lot
100%.
of great videos.
So does Action Retro. If
And
you
so does
also don't.
yeah.
That's
Check
true
out
too.
Action Retro. Yeah,
Yeah.
since we're talking about him,
Yeah.
here on
Action
YouTube as well,
Retro. Sorry.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
PCB
he
way.
it was on Steve's video that he did of the walkthrough for VCF,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
swap meet, and he's like, at one point he's like, "You're missing a key."
And I know exactly what happened. The cord went in behind the key and went.
I bet that's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and it just pulled right off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just pulled it off. Yeah.
And so somewhere in the parking lot at where they had the swap meet, there's a J key off a clamshell. Probably
Yeah.
destroyed now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Poor
most
thing.
likely. But anyway, yeah. So I just thought it tied in well with the vision that I was talking about. Like, let's talk about the failed.
Yeah. And I
Google
also wonder a lot of times when Google does stuff, if it's more of like a can we do it, than more so than should we do it.
Should we do it? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. I agree.
Google, especially old Google. Not, I'm not even going to say modern Google, but old Google is very much let's throw some shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And they have lots of failed products that they've come
Oh
out
yeah.
with over the
No.
years. That
Yeah, and
right?
if they make a fraction of what they spent, they'll hit big. Statistically, they'll hit something.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
makes up for most of the loss. So I get it.
Like I think
That's a lot
I
of
look
tech
at like
companies.
Android. I think Android is a great example. They saw that they needed a phone OS, and we're
Mhm.
like, we could
Yep.
make one, or we could just buy this one over here and fix it,
Right.
and that's what they did.
Yeah.
And I remember when Android first came out, again, Steve Ballmer, same type of people are like, it'll never take off. Nobody will ever trust a search engine with their phone OS. That's foolish, right?
Yeah.
Who's
Exactly.
got the largest market share now?
Yep.
But
Well,
to be
another
fair,
big failed flop tech is, speaking of Google, is Google Fiber. That was
Right.
such a great idea, but I don't think they realized how expensive it is to build infrastructure.
Yeah, like Retrotech Chris said,
Yeah.
Google Plus. Who
Yep.
remembers Google
Oh
Plus?
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, same thing.
Or I'll tell you one that I actually went to go find the other day, thinking it still existed, but I hadn't used it in years. I was like, but it was a fantastic product. Was Google Picasa, the
Oh yeah. Yep.
desktop picture album,
The picture album. Yeah.
right? Because it used to have a sort by face option, which is now part
But
of Google Photo. So I just used Google Photo, but I had
I
to
think,
upload all my photos, which kind of
yeah,
was a pain in the butt.
I think the biggest fail with the Google Fiber is they didn't count on bureaucracy.
Yes.
Like going into these individual municipalities, and everybody wants a big piece of the pie. Well, what are you going to give me for letting you put stuff on our
Yeah.
streets and poles?
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
like
bureaucracy.
Google also bought 3 or 4 utilities in California, so
Yep.
they're actually Google Power Grid now. And the only reason they bought them was to be able to see if they could make Power Grid smarter.
Yeah.
That was the
Right.
whole purpose of them buying it. They wanted to,
Yep.
and allegedly they have, but I don't know if it's necessarily made them any money or if it's been more of a, trying to figure some stuff out
Money pit. Yeah.
that they can then go invest in other markets to sell product, right? Because our power grids are incredibly stupid.
Well, when Google starts doing what Enron did and trading your off-time broadband
Right.
and betting on energy markets, then we might have to be a little more concerned about what Google's got going on.
Right. But I think they're one of those things. They're so big that they can,
Yeah.
much like Apple, they can take a licking and
Mhm.
keep on ticking, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't care.
Yep.
But that's the big thing that companies do by not really accident, but that's one of the biggest downfalls is when companies diversify too much,
Right.
and they spread too thin, So that's another thing that you got to watch, with stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think there's some level of that at Google. But my
Sure.
big point is to kind of wrap it back to what I was talking about earlier with the ads is Google has some very cornerstone products.
Oh,
and
sure.
ads are one of them. And if that
Yep.
ever gets questioned, or if that ever finds out to be not the solid foundation that it's supposed to
Yeah.
be, that is going to be
Yeah.
hugely
That's going to be
detrimental to that
huge.
company,
Yes, absolutely.
right? Like
That's a
going
make
to
it or
take
break it
down
moment.
Right.
down some pillars in that company. And I
Yeah.
don't really think that things like YouTube and free Gmail are going to
They're not going to
survive,
make up any of that. Yeah. They're not going to
right?
be able to recoup any of that money to keep it going.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, I think ads are what pay for free services like YouTube and Google.
Or even for the schools. Google gives free stuff
Google
for
for
schools.
education, like we use it,
Yep.
right?
Yep, absolutely.
So
That's another paid for by other things.
I really hope this ends up being just this company is reading things inappropriately
Yep.
or wrong, and that this is not actually Google being evil. But you know, the pessimist in me says it's a multinational, faceless, billion-dollar company.
Yep.
They're probably doing something wrong.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, that's like I say the same thing about politicians. Like, believe me, these lifers are in there. They have
Their own
every one of
interest.
them is crooked at some
Yep.
point.
Oh, they're all
Every
are.
one of them.
I have a little saying. This is those who can do teach, and those who can teach go into politics.
Yep, 100%.
So
Yep. Does anybody else have any failed tech things, or
Hold
do
on,
we already wrap
let's
through
read
let's
out.
everything?
read this. I have a
Let's
funny
read.
Google story. I worked with a
Yeah.
former Google engineer. He said that some engineers who worked at Google Voice tried their emergency on call or tied their emergency on call onto it. They didn't get calls during outages.
Nah, that's hilarious.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
funny.
I suppose
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, the Apple II,
absolutely.
and that was their cash cow. That was their pillar. That was the sacred
Yep.
cow. Like the fact that Steve Jobs wanted to go in after destroy the Apple II, like get rid of the Apple II and bring on Macintosh. I think that scared a lot of people because that was a huge risk to
Oh
take,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
right? Because the Apple II was
Yeah, you don't
the
want to kill your
sacrifice,
biggest moneymaker.
was the sacred cow. Like you didn't want to kill that.
I still think it is funny from a marketing perspective, and even as a business, that you handicap new products on purpose to keep that cash cow alive.
100%.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
that's an interesting strategy. You know, and
But
it paid off
hindsight
in
is
some
always 20.
areas.
Hindsight's always 2020. So
Yep,
like
Yeah.
you can look
that
back
was a
and say,
huge
well,
risk.
geez,
Yeah,
why didn't Apple just double down on the Macintosh right out the gate? They could have gotten
yeah.
in. They could have gotten way more market share,
Hmm.
right? But and completely just got dropped the Apple II completely in
Yep.
1984 instead of dropping it in what 1990. When
Yeah,
was the last
longest
Apple
time.
II sold? Someone tell me when was the last Apple II sold?
Joe, we're looking at you.
Yep.
I
Everybody's
want to say
looking
it
at
was
you.
I want to say it was 1992, but
Let's Google.
93. Joe just said 93.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
there you go.
See,
So there you go.
see, who needs?
October 15th
See,
of 1993.
Google can fold all at once because we don't need it. We
Yeah,
have
we have
Joe.
Joe.
That's right.
All right, so 1977 to 1993.
AskJoe.com. Let's get that.
I
And
Get the
actually,
domain going.
speaking
I
of
feel like
AskJoe.com.
Joe,
that's the longest running personal computer ever.
It's
speaking
got to
of
be. Yeah.
speaking of Joe, I'm actually quite disappointed that on that list of companies we didn't see jcm-1.com.
Yeah, why aren't you buying Google
Yeah. Why
Ad
aren't you
Space,
buying Google
All
Ads?
right.
Joe?
Well, he gets them for free when things like Titan things happen and it
Yeah,
ties to a product name.
yeah.
And
He
he's
just
got.
he just causes man-made and natural disasters to get a
Yeah,
Right.
tie-in.
that's right. That's right. You don't have to pay for it when it comes to you. But
So
yeah,
what
so we're
what fail tech did you have, Ryan?
Well, I wasn't part of the conversation, so I don't know what I didn't, but I will talk some fail tech, I guess. One of the ones,
Pick one.
yeah, I'm going to pick
6
one. One of the
minutes. You
ones
got
that I
6
was
minutes.
actually really, and you're going to find this funny because I'm very much not one of the in that camp. The Microsoft phones, they were specifically the newer Microsoft Windows 8 Metro phones. Um, they were they were great phones. I'm not going to lie.
I
They
felt
were
that
a
my
they were
Metro
a
phone pigeonholed me into a certain personality that I had to fit, in order to operate and have one. So
bedroom
I
section.
invested in better hair products and all
Right,
kinds of
right.
things. I went full Garth Beagle.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your Metro phone made you Gareth Beagle.
It
Gotcha.
did. It did.
But
Okay.
no, seriously, like taking a step back, I'm a huge Android fan. I had the first iPhone. I jumped on that
Mhm.
board. I was a Palm Treo user before that. I dabbled in BlackBerry.
BlackBerry.
I've had all of them, and I've got to say, stepping back and not having any prejudices,
Hmm.
the Metro phone, specifically on the Nokia Windows mobile phones,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
which were super high spec, super powered. The camera had a Zeiss lens. It was a fucking beautiful camera. It was a beautiful experience,
Hmm.
but it should have been Android based. And I think
Yeah.
had it been Android based, we would be talking about Microsoft as a third tier phone provider now instead of like a
Hmm.
Samsung or a OnePlus or a HTC or any of those. Like, I think it was a bit too late for Microsoft to get that back. But
Yeah.
that was a technology because it had such promise. It was a beautiful phone and it was a capable phone before those things were really guaranteed in an Android phone, we'll say.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. See, I did the same as you. I bounced back and forth between platforms, but
Yep.
over the years, I've always come back to Apple. And I think the biggest thing with that is just because it syncs, bless you, just because it syncs with everything else, it's part
it's
of
a
the
walled
ecosystem.
garden. It's a walled garden,
Yeah, it is.
right?
I
It's
have
a
an
safe place to
iPad,
be.
MacBook, Mac computer, everything. It's just so much easier. I don't have to replicate anything. It's all the same
Right.
place, no matter what device I go to.
Yeah. And like Joe
Yeah,
said there, Microsoft's never really done consumer electronics well.
that's true.
I would argue that they do it well when they want to do it well. Look at the
See,
Xbox,
that's like Windows Phone.
right? Like,
Windows Phone could have been way better than it was. I thought it
oh
was
yeah,
neat. I thought it was
yeah.
great looking at the
You
time, the
mean
tile
Mhm.
thing.
oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's Metro. That's Windows 8
Yeah,
Metro.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's
But
right.
I'm
I'm not
saying
talking
I think the timing wasn't right. I
right.
think they could have had a great product that people loved,
Yeah.
but the
They
timing
were
was
late to
just a little
market.
off.
They were late to
Yeah.
market, and they again. Eric Sage says the Zune was awesome. The Zune is a much
Oh yeah, that
better,
was great.
more
Yeah.
superior MP3 player than an iPod.
My brother-in-law still has his Zune, and it actually works.
Yeah,
Still, so
Mhm.
he
they
still has
had
one. Yep.
Wi-Fi sync in 2003.
Yeah. And
Apple
meanwhile,
didn't
you still
have it
have
in
Apple, who still
2007.
uses Thunderbolt ports for frickin' everything.
Yeah, Apple didn't have Wi-Fi sync for their iPods until 2007.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, so like the
So
Zune had it
I think
4
they were
years
just
before.
they were tardy to the party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like you said,
yeah.
they were
Like
behind, but
Eric just said,
that could have been a great
Windows Phone
product.
was too late, right? And it was.
Yeah.
But like I remember demoing and using a lime green Nokia. I don't even remember what the model was, but it had a Zeiss. It had a like, and it's funny because it was 10 years ago when I used this.
Mhm.
The camera on it was about that big, like with that round
Oh
on the
yeah,
inside,
like
and
giant
it
lens.
stuck out that big. And at the time, people were like, nobody's going to put that in their pocket. That's ridiculous. You
Mhm.
know, nobody's going to do that. Now you go today, and every camera's got a bump like that on it. So
Oh yeah.
they were just
Or people have
Or
cases
multiple.
that
You
yeah,
do
got the
this.
got the
exactly,
3,
right.
now.
So
Well, more than 3. It's got sensors,
it's
so it's got
funny.
5.
It's funny that it was kind of like it was too early. If that phone had come out with that camera today, I don't think anybody would have said anything about the camera being too
No,
big.
no.
Mhm.
But at
Yeah,
the time, people were like, "Oh my God, that's way too big," right?
but
And
like Joe
sorry,
said
go ahead.
about Apple reading the room.
Yeah,
Honest to God, timing is everything.
100%.
So I really think they were
So
just
I think
like Eric
if
said, too late.
Microsoft had heard the rumors that Apple was making a phone
Mhm.
and had started taking the Zune interface and started developing that to be the next Microsoft CE Windows for phone, because ultimately that's what Metro is. Metro has elements of the Zune interface, and they had started doing that back in 2006, 2007. They would have been a much better. And it's not just power; it's marketing. 100%.
Mhm.
I agree.
Exactly.
Right?
No, I
Like
totally agree.
when you pay $20 million for U2 to be your poster boys,
Mhm.
right? Like when
Yep.
Bono can't say anything bad about your product, even
Yeah.
though it's assembled by child laborers, but we'll just brush over that. Um, and he's supposed to be the
Right.
yeah, the cat cannon marketing killed it. Yeah, it did.
Well, I picture him a lot like the Family Guy episode. Oh, that's for the starving children,
Yeah,
and he eats
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
Oh, that's for
yeah,
the starving children, and he eats it.
yeah,
You know, it's the same thing.
yeah. Everything is. Bissell invented the vacuum cleaner and Hoover dominated the market, of course. Yeah,
Mhm.
because Hoover had better advertisement and had people going door to door. Bissell didn't.
Yep.
Um, you know, it's about marketing. But from an actual like quality product,
Mhm.
the Windows Phone was a much better built phone than any of the Android phones I had.
Oh yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
I had
Yep.
an S7, I think, at the time. No, it was an S2, the second generation Samsung Galaxy, um, and that was a way shittier built phone, way shittier than this Nokia beautiful piece of. It reminded me of a sports car. It was like I had a supercar in my hand,
Yep.
Nice.
right?
It
Because
was
it had
nice.
like
It was a
it had
good
like an
product.
8-inch screen. It was anyway. It was a good
And
product.
and and size matters.
It does, especially in a phone, right? But
Well,
anyway, I digress.
that concludes our time for this evening.
Oh, perfect.
We're past the 1 hour mark. We really appreciate everybody
Well,
coming and
actually,
hanging
no.
out.
Technically we started 2 minutes late, so
We did start 2 minutes late.
we're on time. It's an hour.
But I'll post the link for anybody who wants to join offline.
Yeah.
To the StreamYard. So anybody who wants to hang out, Joe, Eric, whoever,
Well,
anybody,
before we
Chris.
do that, thanks everyone for joining us. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.
Right.
Share this with your friends. Helps us
Join
get
us
out
all
there.
on Blue Sky.
If
We're
any of the
all-
topics we talked about this week are you have a fiery comment, you want to put it down in the comment
feel
section.
free to put
Feel
something in the
free.
comment section.
If you want us to talk about something, if you think there's something we should be talking about, let
Yep,
us know.
exactly. Any fiery comments or hot topics or anything like that, just do hashtag preparation H.
We read all the comments.
We do.
And then we delete them.
Right.
And the bad ones about Trina, we read those to her, both Ryan and I.
Yeah. We actually hold her down, shoot
That's
her
right.
with a water hose while screaming your comments at her.
But we are trying to change the format of the show and stay on topic and actually talk about tech related things. So we hope that today was a little better for people, and I hope to continue the format moving forward. We really appreciate everybody taking their time out of their evening, especially on a Friday night. You all could be at the discotheque or roller skating.
And also don't forget, Opie will be with us every week.
That's right.
As the fourth host.
Hang on, I got a cat here somewhere.
My cat passed away last week, so.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, we're really sorry to hear about that, Ryan.
No, it's okay. It's the nature circle of life.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing about pets. They're family members. They're just like your kids.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Actually, they're better than kids because at least you can swear at them and just kind of like throw them.
Also, when they
don't talk back mostly.
And by the time they turn 18, they usually pass on, and you don't have to send them to university. So it's cheaper. Although I was funny, we have pet insurance.
All right, let's end this
we'll end
because we're way off topic now.
Yeah. And scene.
All right, so thanks everyone for watching. Have a great night, and we will be posting the link for the post stream.
There's the link for the post stream, but let us close it out first.
I'm heading and broadcast. So.
Yep. Thanks, guys.